Otherwise, you lose the opportunity for the team to find a better solution.
Yes.
Because right now in this session, you're maybe more business people and you kind of think the direction of the solution, but maybe the details of the solutions, the team is more expert on that one, so you don't want to lose that opportunity.
Yeah.
Welcome, listeners. This is episode number 13 of Two Facet Podcast. I am Juncal Gonzalez, one of your co-hosts. I am a product designer, and this is
Matt, the product manager, the second co-host. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Yes,
so topics. Every time we didn't came empty-handed, so we have a topic today.
Yeah, so today we are going to talk about shaping ideas.
Yeah, so not shaping directly from the Shape Up book that you heard hopefully in the previous episode. If not, please check it out. It's really nice one, but more about like how to get from I would love to have something to tangible idea that someone can work on. So it's like how to define a bit more from idea to something deliverable later on.
Exactly, because ideas tend to be super abstract in general. So when you actually start to do something with them, they are vague. So you need to start putting details into it.
And then you see a lot of missing details. You see later on, you see trade-offs that you will need to make that are needed to, for this idea to become reality and things like this.
Questions you have probably as well. And as well, you have limited amount of resources.
So you sometimes need to work with uncertainty or risks. So you need to, try to cut them as much in order to get to possibly best idea or solution to that idea, no?
Execution of the idea.
Actually, execution,
right. So there's different ways we can do that.
Yes, and then we are actually applying different frameworks in like daily practice depending on the problem and who is trying to solve this problem and where the idea is. So what processes are there? So for sure, I would say that in general, shaping ideas shouldn't be any strict process.
Yes,
it shouldn't be like, oh, you need to go exactly through those stages. It's more like techniques that's gonna help you out to slice the work down or remove some of the risks or uncertainty or answer some of the questions that may arise or find some, hey, we will need to have some trade-offs a bit earlier on than in the development.
Exactly, that's totally true. So don't take whatever we're going to say like, okay, I need to do step number 1, now step number 2, because it's super fluid, the process.
Yeah. And there are different, as you will see, there are different techniques and all of them have bits and pieces that you can reuse later on. So it's not strict process.
Which one we start with? Okay, we are going to talk about the shape-up process, the design process,
and the refinement inside Scrum. So how does it work in this framework? Well, all of them, even if we start with one, they actually start from defining the problem. So all of them start from, okay, you have an idea, cool, but why? So
exactly. Taking a step back and asking why, and
why this idea, whom it's gonna serve, what's its purpose, like all of those questions. So all of them start there. So you try to take the idea and decompose that back into more problem statement, then okay, let's build it. Okay, so where do we want to start? Do we want to start with shape up or do we want to start with design process? Shall we toss a coin? Okay.
I don't have a coin.
Me neither. So let's start with design process.
Let's start with design process. Yes. Okay. So the design process, it's normally the one that designers do when working alone or when being more like a design facilitator in a team. It's very similar to design thinking, but it's not exactly the same. And as you said, it always starts by understanding the problem. So you always need to first understand. You might want to understand your users, your stakeholder needs, the core problem you're trying to solve. And this is super important because based on this understanding, you will be able to find right solutions.
Yeah, so not jumping to execution already, because it is tempting a lot of times.
Yes,
also the idea arrives and it's like, oh, I know how to build. Like I have 1 or 2 solutions in mind already. let's not jump to execution,
Exactly.
because it can drive you or the team into wrong set of details.
Yes.
And then it may be not important at all at the end of the day. Yeah.
And this is very important maybe for more junior designers, that when someone comes to them with an idea already kind of formed, like, hey, we need to add a screen on this wizard or whatever, especially if it's from someone maybe higher on the management role level, to even then ask the questions.
Why? It's always healthy to ask why and to whom and how,
Yes.
who are basically, once you know your target audience, you can start thinking like, okay, will this button really be important, or maybe I can solve the same issue without the button. Maybe the problem is somewhere else. Maybe we have just broken flow, and this is how the users cope with it, but then maybe it's not good solution to keep adding patches on top and just fix the base flow.
Exactly. One trick is to ask why 5 times. They say it's like the right amount of times that will help you get to the core problem. So I don't know, imagine someone arrives to you as a designer and tells you, we need to add here a print button, and you go like, okay, but why? Because the user needs to print the documents. And why do they need to print the documents? Because they need to give it to someone else. And why do they need to give it to someone else? Because this person doesn't have the information. And why they don't have it? Because they don't have access to it. So maybe the solution is not a print button, but a way to give this other person access to the information, for instance.
And then remove the paper artifacts. Maybe this is a problem for a customer. So you can find many more opportunities along.
Exactly.
Not just print button and then the job is done. Yeah.
So that would be the first one to understand. And then before jumping to already creating solutions, there's always a step in the design process, which is gathering information. So basically checking how other products solve the same problem, getting visual inspirations as well from similar
like
products.
A mood board or...
Yes, exactly. This typical designer mood board with all the ideas and stuff. This helps you open up a bit. So instead of just jumping on what is more familiar to you, you open up a bit to other visual options or other solutions. There's these 3 things they say to try out when you're exercising yourself on doing this, that you try to do one solution which is a copy, then another one that it's a combination of 2 ideas, and another one that it's like a transformation of one of the ideas, to exercise yourself on this.
I like this one. There was also a quote from head of design at Facebook at the time. I don't remember now the name, but I will find it later. That any idea or solution that you have that's third one, it's probably retroactive. Yes, you're using your common knowledge and just making the benchmark fancy. So you saw something and you're just making it fancier and more common to the design you're using in a company. But then 15, it takes you like creativity level to get to 15 different ideas or solutions. And then maybe it doesn't need to be 15, that the number is random, whatever it is, but also always to be not stopping at the second one. Gather your inspirations, but then the first ideas you're gonna sprout, they're just like fancy copies of what you saw. Improved probably, but they're not gonna be groundbreaking there.
So to push yourself a bit farther to generate more solutions.
And do exercise for your brain to just keep thinking about how to connect those dots differently. And there are, as we know from practice, thousands of connections of the same thing. So
yes, and you can exercise it and get better at it. This is for sure.
And if it's gonna be bad, we already talked about bad ideas and how you can turn them into good ones. So,
into good ones, as well. So this takes me to the third stage, let's say, which is actually defining solutions, creating solutions. And here you want to do as much as possible, as you said. So recommendation is to do them quickly, low fidelity drawings. I always recommend paper and pen. And important thing here is to try to do a lot and do it quick, to not fall in love with them, because they might not be the right ones.
That's true. That is very true.
So in this stage, you may have a lot of possible solutions, and what you would do is you can pick a few of them, the ones you think that work best, and make them a bit more specific, a bit more tangible. So then you can ask for feedback and test them. Yeah, so, and then iterate. So this is why you shouldn't fall in love with the first idea.
Because you can change this, you will be iterating, so the idea may change totally from whatever is initial.
You will get some feedback of something to improve, and then you can change it. But
it's also like, that's why you start from the understanding. So even though you know it's unavoidable that the idea gonna iterate and may change, it's like at least you know you armored yourself with the enough data to have chances of like, okay, this idea actually, you know, refers to some real problem and not just it came from the management, which is also fine. Management can be having good time and actually having good ideas, but the solution is a bit different thing.
Yeah, so basically that would be the process designers normally do to, from one idea, get to an actual execution of it that can be produced.
And as you will see in a moment, the feeling and the steps are super common across other techniques. So if we move to shape up, so the shape up is from a shape up methodology invented by Basecamp. We have a video about it if you're interested. But basically, how does the ideas are shaped as you do in the design process inside the shape up. So when the team is in the development cycle, so the team is developing, there is a other group of people inside the book. It's a senior management. In our case, it's a part of the team that in parallel works on business track, let's call it. So we are having this double track of discovery and delivery. So basically team is working on delivery and discovering things during the delivery, and you have like a discovery track focused on shaping. So it's a process that has all of those stages. So we start rough. So we have an idea, and what we usually do with this idea is we try to make a problem statement. So, or sometimes we have a problem and we can find different solutions or pain points there. So recently we've been talking about one of the projects, and we started with like 6 different problems written down.
Yes.
It's about centralization, it's about this, it's about that, no, maybe this point, maybe this pain is bigger. So we had 6 different ideas on like what's really a problem. So this shows us already that, hey, a lot of risks.
Yes.
Like you may not really know what you're building and through whom and what's going on there. You have 6 different goals here. Let's work a bit on that one. So you start rough. From there you can start trying to remove some of those questions. So what we do is we do Figma Jam board, so it is kind of a mood board at the end of the day, but we try to bring as much insights we have from the research and previous projects as possible. So we bring like actual slides from reports, we bring some proxy metrics showing similar behaviors inside the system and things like this. So then we can try to put a boundary on, okay, from the list of 6 problems that we believe the idea solves, we want to focus on this one. So this is gonna be the boundary, because looking at the data, looking at the research insights, we can say, hey, this is a possibly bigger pain point than the other one, or this is gonna give us bigger impact on whatever we want to work. So this is like a starting point. You can pick the thing you believe you're gonna be working on. It may change 3 times in this meeting, and this meeting should take, the book says the shaping meeting, the best would be to meet like 2-3 people and have this, beautiful mind moment. So you're sitting there and half of the notes doesn't make any sense to anybody outside, but for the 2-3 people it actually makes sense. So it should be like people you have close relationship, and how the flow of the work works, because you need to go, a lot of zooming in, zooming out is happening. So you work on a solution and then you say, okay, let's remove that because we shouldn't be telling anybody solution, and that's fine. You should be checking that. But yeah, you start from the understanding, so super similar to design process. You try to nail down the problem there.
But one difference I see here, because you mentioned a lot these boundaries and this data and everything, is that here in the shape up, you're super focused on that. You're going to actually deliver that one to developers. You're actually going to build that.
The idea is,
so this is why you really need to be choosing one of the problems. Otherwise it would be too much big to build and deliver.
That's true. The end process of the shaping is something that's called pitch, and this is like a super condensed document explaining boundaries for the team. So what problem do we want to solve, and more important even, what the solution shouldn't do. So what are the things we don't want to build, and then the team, and it should contain enough detail for a team to know what to do with it, but not too much of a detail, because this again can drive the team into the wrong details and the wrong direction. It can be found much later. So connecting to this, the first step is understanding to limit the risks of, okay, we will be driving people into the wrong direction. So which direction shall we pick, or which problem to solve? So we have this, let's say we have this basic understanding of a problem we want to solve. So then we move to different names there, but basically what we do are two things. So one, and we do it some sessions, is like trying to first do all of the interactions that the user will be doing.
Yes.
Maybe not sorry.
Even first, position that in our system.
Yeah.
So where in this system does this solution belong? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Is it like new feature, some amendment on some of the screens? Maybe it's a flow through 5 different screens and things like this. So you think about where would it live inside the system, and then once you have this space, that's true, you can start thinking on interactions. So how the user gonna get there? If he or she does the main action, shall he or she have an option to undo or delete? Or then maybe there needs to be a management, because you have now objects of the list, and you start seeing it's not the design. Actually, in the book they propose saying like you have a name of a screen on the top, then underline, and then you list actions and try to connect them to each other. So you start seeing if there are interactions that can allow you to even build that. So after 30 minutes, when you aligned, you can disprove some and say like, okay, this is unbuildable, no ideas, we just drop. And we dropped few shape up sessions saying like, we just don't know, or there is no easy way to just even connect the dots. So not thinking about the design yet.
Because there's no easy way, and as well, it can happen because you don't have enough information. So you wonder, where should I put that? I don't really know, because I don't have enough information from the user.
And usually at this stage, if you have this situation, I wouldn't move forward. So I would stop and try to understand better, find the use case, check maybe more research, or just go to customers and talk with them. But I would try to keep understanding until you are able to do this interaction map and map everything. Should be fairly easy at this point. The next one is really like data and insights driven. But sometimes you will not be able to build this interaction because you don't know what should be the end goal, or if they care about this or they don't care, and it's like adding too much stuff is also not best in there. But let's say we were able to do that and we know what are the actions, then the next step is trying to validate if there's actually solution for this. So if this, if it's buildable, because you can imagine, okay, interaction is gonna be there, amazing, but then would it be doable? So this is called fat market sketching, and the idea is to get actual fat market marker and draw like shitty UIs, like really ugly. It doesn't need to be pretty at all. It's just trying to take those interactions and put them in screen-like objects in your board or piece of paper, just to, it's like with radio. So you can imagine like radio that's like pretty box that you buy and it has Bluetooth and things and it's a speaker, but you can also build that with like 2 cans, piece of copper wire and some electricity, and it's gonna work.
It's just the concept.
So it's more concept, like drawing like a low fidelity concept design by some random people thinking about the idea. But this gives you that if you are able to do it, there is some solution. You've built nice one, not nice one, they need to now do packaging, make it really nice and really well engineered, but at least you have the feeling of, okay, there is one solution, so it is solvable problem, and then how it's gonna be in detail, that one you do later. And actually on this one, a lot of times we have things like in a Figma board we leave like question marks or any other artifacts, because then you start seeing like, okay, so I see this flow, but and what happens here, and do they really care about this, and this, can we remove it because then it would be smaller and things like this. And I would say Fat Marker Sketcher is this place where you say like, okay, I'm going for it or I'm dropping it totally because it's either growing or you have too many questions or you're not able to finish the design because and then the feature you wanted to use doesn't work like this. Problems. So then you know. What's important with this one is you will get to a working solution and then you should forget about this working solution immediately after getting it, because let's say we have this understanding, we did the interaction map, so we understand how this place would behave. During this Fat Marker sketching, we would also find all of the rabbit holes. So we would be looking there and saying like, okay, so this shouldn't happen, or we don't want the system to do this because then we grow and it's much bigger. So you make all of those. It may seem like arbitrary decisions, but it's more decisions on how to make it as light as possible for a team to actually deliver. So all of the amendments or nice to haves or things that you are not sure about, you at that time actually note down and say like, hey, this is the list of rabbit holes. So wherever the teams arrives at that topic, they know, okay, let's not do that. Okay,
For instance, if we are suggesting to use a part of the system or to touch a part of a feature that we already know it's super complex and we already had a lot of problems, this might be a rabbit hole because when it arrives to the team, they will take ages to even figure that one out.
So you may then inside the pitch just mention that, hey, let's not use that feature and here's the hack I propose. Like instead of using a chat, let's send an email. That's fine for MVP. And then you can later have another cycle about unlocking chat feature or whatever. Depends on the project, but usually you're gonna be able to slice it somehow to just remove the really risky things or things that the team would spend a lot of time and they would not give you the impact you're seeking. So you do all of the rabbit holes.
And you said we need to forget about the solution. Why?
Yes, because when you have the rabbit holes, you have the Fat Marker sketching, you have the interaction map, you understand the problem fully and the use cases you really want to solve, you're writing something which is called pitch. So the end process, all of this is like a short document describing what you want to build, because now you actually understand, or you should understand what you want to build. So inside the pitch, you keep all of those. You try to make them prettier and shorter, so you keep like short context and then what you tried and what won't work, so you list all of the rabbit holes. And through listing this context and rabbit holes, you need to give the team something. So it cannot be abstract, like we want to have solution, please solution. That's not gonna work because it's too broad and then the team can, go different directions and have sometimes problems with finding the problem to solve. But then at the same time, if you start adding like Fat Marker sketching too much detail of it, like actually telling to the team, and then let's have the checkbox here and the toggle there and then the window should be a model, then even though the team gonna be told later that, hey, don't care about whatever design you saw, the team will just follow the design.
Exactly.
So it's a fine art of finding the right balance in your pitch to have solution that just gives the boundary for a team, so they understand, okay, it's a message, it should be in chat, and not they spend 3 days of thinking, shall we be working now on chat, emails, or maybe we're gonna be sending like a post office. Instead of that, you should say chat. But if it's like a message, a blob, and screen inside the chat, or any other, voice to text message technology, I don't care. But it's like living inside the chat, and that's the perfect amount in the case I'm thinking about and you don't know. But what I'm trying to say is the right amount of abstraction is really crucial there.
Yes, otherwise you lose the opportunity for the team to find a better solution.
Yes.
Because right now in this session, you're maybe more business people and you kind of think the direction of the solution, but maybe the details of the solutions, the team is more expert on that one, so you don't want to lose that opportunity and those skills.
And that's one of the things that the Shape Up mentions, is that the main difference between Scrum and the Shape Up, or Shape Up and different other methodologies, is like the team is actually based on the pitch creating the work. So they need to have enough space for creativity and do fun. So if you come with the design ready as much as you believe you're an innovator and you nailed it, you just remove that from them, so they don't have that space to work, and they are task takers. And then you kill the creativity, and we all know more creativity which can generate, probably better ideas gonna happen. So giving that back to the team members really makes a difference. Here.
And now we're describing this process. I'm realizing that then you can inject the design process afterward as well, because the solution is not like super specific. So then afterwards, a designer can come and start again, like, okay, let me double check I understand everything, let me get inspiration, let me draw some ideas.
Exactly. And this is following the chat, this is exactly what we are doing in that project. We are having a lot of mood boards and copies and trying to find the right designs. What I would say is, the fundamentals for both are identical, and even the steps are the same, just done by different people probably. And
the level of zoom, right?
The level of zoom
on
is
the
different,
first one, you're really trying to find a super high level solution, more like the area in the system,
and check if it's possible to build,
and then you go much more into the actual details of it.
And then you zoom out to do pitch and you forget about the details, but that's the idea too. So and even more, I would say this is trying to squeeze whatever the team gonna be finding out and trying to come over, and all the problems that will appear, or even parts of the design process. ShapeUp tries to, if I do it super fast, is it possible? Okay, so if people do it right, then it's gonna be amazing. That's the I would say the feeling is like, if you can go through the ShapeUp process, people are gonna be amazing at the at this thing,
at doing the rest of the things.
You checked in 3 hours if it's buildable and you found a solution. Shitty or not, but yes, you can connect all of the dots and the data could go through the system the way you would like to. So it's possible. And then if you have a team of experienced engineers, designers, and people that actually know their craft, it's gonna be only better. Yeah.
Yes. So ShapeUp, not most of the teams they do.
Yeah.
A lot of them they do Scrum.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And in a Scrum it looks similar but a bit different. So in Scrum, I would say the closest to ShapeUp and the design process that we were talking about is refinement / grooming meeting. So it is how to without starting the whole Scrum guide from the beginning, but so we work inside Scrum. You would work in 2 weeks sprints, and at the end of each sprint you would have planning, right? And this is okay, so we take the top elements in the backlog into the next sprint, or you pick the items for the sprint goal, or whatever makes more sense for you. So then you may have a question, okay, but from where those tasks come from, the ideas or whatever you get on the planning. So this is called refinement. So the full flow is, through the time, product owner or anybody others keeps adding items to the backlog that seems to be important, stories, tasks, whatever name you're gonna use. And here the timeline alignment is tricky. So some of them do this at the planning meeting. Does not make much sense because it's gonna be taking you hours. So it's much better to split and have refinement and planning as described in a Scrum guide. A lot of people do this the same day, planning and refinement. Some of them do it mid-sprint. So in the middle of the sprint, you have one refinement meeting, and then at the end of the sprint, you have the planning. The difference between Scrum and the ShapeUp here is, in the ShapeUp, in the book it's management. In our case, it's like picked part of the team that works on discovery. In Scrum, everybody should be on that meeting, so you're collaborating whole team. And basically the refinement meeting is you're talking about the top ideas in your backlog that are not detailed enough for a team. Whatever this means. So of course there are techniques like definition of ready, so you create common shared document with the team on what the task or a story should contain in order to be perceived as ready for the development to start working on it. And the refinement is together. So you start with an idea, and you may have some data insights, maybe you have some mock-up already, so there are no blockers on how much design you have. It's Scrum, so
you could even have like a super detailed prototype.
Maybe you did like design sprint before, or maybe you went through design process, but you're having some deliverable idea. And then before you go for directly to planning with it, etc., you meet with the team and you go through story by story, trying to break it down into missing pieces. So this is also when the estimation happens. So you're having the discussion with the team, and it's like, okay, it will take us 7 days, or hey, we're missing design here, so we don't know, or are you sure this is gonna work with more senior teams? And then you can challenge if we have enough insights or research. And then process is the same. So I'm not an expert, so I will say it's not written down, the process of the refinement itself, and the facilitator is super important to drive the discussion to the right place, because you can get into too much technical details and start creating crazy tasks. But yeah, you go with the discussion with the team to break down the work into like smaller tasks, and to show to the product owner or whomever needs to bring, like, to find more informations. And this keeps repeating for a given story until it's ready. And then next planning, you can take it into your sprint and then go with it.
So you do have this part of understanding, because you come with the idea and then there's a lot of questions, and these are the questions that go back to like a second round.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the refinement sessions I've been in, they end like this. So you come, you say like, hey, this is the thing. Okay, but why? And then set of questions that are trying to understand what needs to be done there. If you're gonna have design, maybe it's gonna be challenge, and then you will have like tasks that, hey, we need to change design to that way, or maybe we need to align. So it's more like on that meeting you also create a lot of questions, but also tasks for the future.
Yes.
So it's whenever you're gonna start with the epic or the story, you know already, okay, so this design we need to align to this, or maybe you aligned it in between. But whenever you want to start, those are the tasks, this is the things we need to do. We well defined all of the potential problems and steps to take, and this is like more planning work. So the difference between Shape Up and Scrum, because techniques from the Shape Up, I do believe you can totally use in Scrum. Like just fat drawing is before you go to the team, trying to see if there's any solution and making it a bit more abstract. But the main differences are in the Shape Up, we are thinking about the scope, and then the work is not planned. So the tasks and everything like this are discovered by the team during the delivery stage. Inside the Scrum, you try to define the work and the tasks earlier. So in delivery stage, you just deliver. It's less, I don't want to say less creative. I know there are creative Scrum teams, but it's more towards you're spending more time planning and architecturing the future work, and in Shape Up you more discover and just create work on the fly, like whenever you're trying to find the right solution.
And in Scrum, I think you can also inject the design process as well. Before you arrive to this meeting, probably, because you want to do everything like, okay, how are we going to solve this? Or if you arrive to the refinement with just an idea and without design, then you can inject it later on. Like, okay, now how we get into detail.
And refinement also can end, I forgot, is with something that's called spike. So you may end up saying like, hey, in order to do that, we need another task, another action that's going to be, let's build proof of concept of that. Or maybe 3 developers will spend 3 days reading and trying to figure out if it's possible. So you're doing that collaboratively with the whole team, and it's more for the team to ask those questions than the product owner. So then you should have good facilitator, either Scrum Master, product owner, or maybe even third person there. That's just drives this into right places.
Doesn't sound like an easy one.
facilitator work is not easy. The process itself is fairly easy. You sit down and you ask questions. More senior the team is, better it is. But yes, in majority of the cases, those meetings are super long.
Yes, I can imagine.
They take a lot of time. So then it's crucial to keep backlog super tidy. So you don't have like 25 elements to talk that they're irrelevant and nobody cares about them, and prioritization keeps being a clue, because whenever you want to use 4 hours of the whole team, you need to really spend that productively and not just sit down and have discussion about problems. So
nice.
Yeah.
So we have different options.
Yes, there are different options. But again, all of them have the same fundamentals. So all of them work on first understanding, then trying if it's feasible, and then at the end just go to your users and test the solution you have. But when someone comes to you with the idea or a problem, don't jump into solution directly.
Exactly.
Spend your time trying to check other solutions, why this person is coming with this problem, to whom it's gonna serve, and do you even, I don't know, maybe you have historical tries of doing that, so you may know what doesn't work and what failed, and then go through competition, and only then start building things.
And you can do this by yourself, or you can do this in a group. You can have sessions where someone who knows design process maybe facilitates those sessions, and then it's everyone thinking about solutions and exploring ideas.
And it take also one is the number of sessions, and then even the processes we were talking, they can take you anything from you can keep doing them for a month, but you can also do them in 15 minutes if you're back of the envelope. So if you're worried that, oh no, now with every idea I need to spend 3 days on shaping, that's not true. It's anything that's needed for you to get to this level of I don't know, to this level of abstraction you feel comfortable with, to just move to the team, either as a user story or as a pitch inside the ShapeUp.
Probably the amount of time you spend depends on the complexity of the problem, right?
Yes, for sure. And then how much you know about it
as well.
So this adds to this, but it's really nice, and it allows you to work with uncertainty. So either you're aware about it and you say to the team inside the pitch, or the team starts being aware inside the Scrum when they keep talking and they keep finding out, oh, this is uncertain, we don't know this. And then the same with the risks. So either you find the risks together, or in the shaping session you list the risks. So again, you can explain to the team. So when they are working, they at least know, okay, so these things can explode. Let's not touch these things to explode. Other situations you sometimes have. So we know it's a field mine, but we don't know where they are. So let's just keep working. So both Scrum, ShapeUp, and design process, they try to put you as many flags on mines as possible, so you know how to not kill yourself.
Good metaphor.
I don't know where this came from, but it is true. Okay, so that's all that we had for today.
Was a nice one. I liked it.
I liked it too. Hope you liked it too, our listeners.
Share it with anyone you think might benefit from it, might find it interesting.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please give the thumb up and comment if you want to have a further discussion about the topics.
You can also find us in Spotify.
Yes, if you go to anchor.fm/2facet, you will see the link for Spotify and any other podcast platform you may be using.
Apple Podcast or
anything that's there. What else? We also have Twitter account, so at 2facet podcast, and the email 2facetpodcast@gmail.com. So if you want to ask us any questions or propose a topic,
go for it.
We are always there. Thank you very much, and have a nice one. See you in the next one. Bye.
See you. Bye.